Hi everyone, Russell. Welcome to the Reading Fabricator, and today I'm going to talk about yet another book written by an actor or a director that I've recently read, and that is A Bright Ray of Darkness by Ethan Hawke. His first book in quite a long time, first work of fiction in a very long time. I think his last one was Ash Wednesday or something like that. But this is my first reading of it by him. I actually attempted this book about a year ago. I wouldn't say a year ago, maybe like 6 months ago, and I got about halfway through, and then I stopped. And I have a real big habit of getting halfway through books and then stopping, not because I hate them, but I just for some reason just put them down. And as it stands, I quite like this book. If anything, it reminded me most of the 2014 movie Birdman, a tale of a down on his luck superstar movie star who's in the midst of a divorce from his rock star wife Mary, and they have kids, two very young kids, a son and a daughter. There's a sort of a custody battle going on. They sort of go in between the two of them. And the book starts with him arriving in New York, preparing to start in a play. I think it's Henry IV as Hotspur. And it's his first time ever doing a Broadway play. So this is an entirely new area to him. And he sort of wants to start life anew. But he's a bit run down. The tabloids are always talking crap about him. He's constantly being, hissed at, basically. Everyone's against him. Even when he gets in the taxi from the airport, the book immediately starts with him getting in a taxi cab, going to his hotel called the Mercury, which is where he will be staying throughout the residency and throughout his run on the play on Broadway. And the taxi cab's just going on and on about his own life and comparing it to himself. And the whole book is pretty much dedicated to this guy. Just everything is coming at him. Okay, he is working towards trying to better himself, but he's not doing a very good job of it because, he's always doing drugs, he's always drinking, he's always sleeping with women. And, he does a lot of things that, even though he means well, are pretty much bringing him to harm. What I see is that the first 2/3 of this book is almost read like a thriller, where one thing happens and then another thing happens and then they build up and they collide and then another thing comes into a play and then it just keeps on building and building and building and expanding. And as the book progresses through the first, I'd say 150 pages, this book is divided into what's called 2 acts. You've got Act 1, then intermission, then Act 2. The entire first act is this build-up leading up to the opening night of his play. And I say it reads like a thriller because there's so many things happening, so many things where you want to know what happens. It really turns into a real page turner. You want to see whether or not the whole world is going to come down on him, whether he is just going to get crushed by the intensity and by the pressure. There's a lot of pressure going on in this book, both realized and psychologically. And I won't spoil what ends up happening, but needless to say, what I found was that the final third of this book, pretty much all of Act 2, is an entirely different thing. It's sort of like the aftermath of everything that leads up to the opening of his Broadway play. And I didn't like it quite as much as the first act. But I found some of the most challenging and introspective passages to be in that second act in the last 70 pages, including a very beautiful section where he finally reconciles with his dad. He's never really gotten along with his dad, but his dad comes up from Texas to see his play. He brings his 2 young sons along. There's a bit of an age difference. The main character in this book, William, I should say his name is William. Yeah, he's in his 30s. And he's got 2 younger brothers who I think are 12 and 14, so there's a bit of an age difference. But he brings the sons up, they sleep at the Mercury, and then him and his dad go for a stroll through the park, and it talks about how the park is lit up by lights and by taxi cabs, and they're walking through and they're talking. They're walking the dog, they end up at a bar, and his dad sort of just unloads on him, basically, just of all his regret, and how seeing that play just made him just realize just how he's never really taken shots for himself, how he's never really tried to better himself or do something that he really wants to do. And it's quite a beautiful moment. And William sort of seems to see that both in himself and see his dad as, well, sort of a failure, but also see that he himself could be a failure if he ends up the same way and that he needs to change. Beautiful things like that. Another great moment would be where he's having this conversation with another actor from the play. And this actor, he talks about his life of drugs, of football. He's a big guy. and he can't play football because of an injury, and he resorts to drugs, and he decides to go sober while the same day that he and his friends go to Burning Man, a music festival. And he discusses this moment where, as he's walking around Burning Man, he comes across this Native American, and this Native American invites him to, I think it's try a certain type of drug, and it will either kill him or make him see something truly wonderful. So he does it, and I'll read the passage to you now because I think it's quite interesting. Well, it's not really a passage; it's like 2 pages, but I'm going to distill it a little bit. Then after a day and a half, I met this elderly Native American dude, and this is where I may lose you, but this guy was the real deal. For a North Dakota fella like me, there was something about him that was familiar. He felt like family. He was cooking veggie hot dogs on a grill in front of an Airstream trailer with a Merle Haggard t-shirt on, and I struck up a conversation with him. He told me that coming to Burning Man was a strange thing to do to get sober, and we started gabbing, and I told him that the truth was that since my mum committed suicide, I think I've never moved on. I mean, my dad sent me to shrinks and shit. So here I was, 30 years old, and I thought I'd deal with it, but I couldn't shake how badly I wanted to see her all the time. I was already older than she had ever been. My mum drowned herself at 29. So this old dude told me he thought that he could probably help me, that I didn't need drugs. What I needed was medicine, and that he could take me on a vision quest to see my mum, but that there was a strong possibility that I'd die in the process, literally die. So he decides to do the vision quest, and I'll continue on. Turns out that this trip involves smoking the saliva of a certain kind of bullfrog, which is technically poison, Big Sam continued. I mean, the shit will kill you. But I go inside his little Airstream trailer, which is a very clean and peaceful place to be, and he lit some candles. His daughter starts to sing some old Chiricahua song, and I smoke the shit, right? I mean, frankly, I don't care if I live or die. I've got nothing to live for. No football, no girlfriend, no mum. But there was something warm and kind about this man. I felt safe. One hit off his pipe full of frog saliva takes my head clean off. I'm not kidding. Almost immediately I go into cardiac arrest. I fall down like a fucking epileptic. Next thing I know, I'm floating above my body, watching these 2 Indians rubbing my hands and legs. And then I'm floating higher above the Airstream, above Burning Man. And I can see all the people dancing and lighting fires, and then I'm shooting like a star above America and all the electricity. Then above the darkness of the Atlantic Ocean, and then the planet is drifting underneath my feet. And then I'm skyrocketing through the howling infinite, I mean, disappearing into some peaceful void of space tucked into the Milky Way. And then I hear it, the sound of love. I hear and I feel held by these voices of love. It's my mum, and she cares for me, and it's so arresting, like a cold shower on a hot afternoon. She is fresh. I start laughing, just elated that I am there with her. There are other people too, people I don't remember, but recognize. They think I am amazing, and are so happy to see me. That I think is the pinnacle of the book. That to me is the best writing. It's the thing I'll remember the most. The book itself, as I said before, it reminds me of Burning Man, and there's lots of montages and lots of moments where they're going to stage calls. There's a lot of detailing about what goes on in a theatre. So if you're into theatre, particularly, this is the sort of thing for you. There's talks about actors getting along. There's this running theme where every time he goes to his dressing room, which he shares with a bloke called Ezekiel, he finds these quotes that are posted to the door that are mailed to him, and he can never find out who it is. And you do find out at the very end. I won't spoil it, but you do find out at the very end. It's a very eye-opening moment because it comes from someone that you least suspect. There's things that happen throughout the Broadway play, such as one of their main actors getting a heart attack and an understudy having to come in and finish it for them. There's this whole section where he has this gut injury, and it keeps on getting worse and worse and worse and infected, and he literally has to go into surgery, but he tries to convince them that he has to perform the stage play the day of the surgery, and there's this whole section where he's crying to them to let him continue the stage play, and he's almost hallucinating it. So that's really something. As I said before, he's got his son and daughter who constantly come and see him. So this book takes place over the course of, I think, 3 months or something like that, and it ends throughout Christmas. And there's also things involving many relationships of a sexual nature, including talking about how he cheated on his wife, And so that's what you pretty much get from this book. It is a combination of ideas and themes that all surround what is pretty much a privileged white man in America, written by a privileged white man. So yeah, there you have it. But I like it. I like that sort of thing. It's wonderful writing. It's very terse. It gets to the point, and it zips along. It almost had like a I wouldn't say Charles Bukowski kind of vibe to it, but I like the dialogue, and I think the dialogue in the book is very sharp, and it should be sharp. It comes from someone who's been nominated, I think, twice nominated for screenplay Oscars. So Ethan Hawke can write. He's a good writer. It's not one of my favorite books of the year, but I liked it. I didn't put it down. I didn't not finish it. So yeah, there you have it. A lot going on in this book, and it didn't end the way I thought it would end either. So yeah. And a fantastic title. I mean, a bright ray of darkness is truly, truly something. I love that title. I'm not sure why. It just grabbed me. I saw it at the bookstore and I just grabbed it and I just looked at it. And I looked at the title for like a minute. There's just something about it that just transfixed me. That just really got me into it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. A very rambling, stupid review, but I hope you got something out of that. Thank you very much for listening or watching. And yeah, like, subscribe, and if there's any comments you'd like to leave, then leave them below. Otherwise, yeah, have a good day, everyone. See you.